Hey everybody, welcome back to Tools for Life. I've got another question from Bear Panda, and in fact these are two questions, so I'm going to read both his comments on one video. He says, "Hi, I've been following the video series that you're producing and have learned a lot. I'm just an average guy who is basically not up to anything illegal. However, I still want to protect my privacy in the sense that I have interests that I don't want others to know about. Hence, I now use a VPN and a secure email provider. Good job. One area you highlighted in this video is ransomware attacks and your suggestion on how to secure a working operating and database by backups will be acted on. However, and you already have planned to do this, is how to protect my computer or phone from ransomware or other information stealing type attack. The fact that the information contained on my computer has been exported is of concern. Thanks again for your time and effort in producing these videos." That's the first question. So for the average individual, you really typically don't have much to worry about with regards to ransomware, and I'll explain why. I've done a lot of extensive research on ransomware, and frankly, I'm one of the foremost authorities on ransomware. I don't even really like the word authority, but in terms of the information that I have out there, as part of my consulting services to keep clients up to date, I have part of my service package to clients is giving them, especially executives are like so busy with business stuff and doing other things that they don't really have time to keep abreast of all of the trends and so forth. So I do monitoring of ransomware gangs, okay? And there are a lot of companies out there that they offer these bullshit products, and they are bullshit products out there. They say they have like AI, ransomware monitoring, dark web monitoring, and it's nonsense because all of the controls that are on the dark web are, not all, but a lot of the controls are built to prevent bots and software from scanning these sorts of things. So they have anti-bot and anti-automation protection that works really well, and you can't really do it using automated scanning. At best, you would have to use a mix of manual scanning, meaning a person actually going to some website on the dark web, and an automated tool to try to scan that information. And that's possible. But I do extensive research on how these organizations operate so that I can stay ahead and provide the best services to my clients, so that when they engage me for services, I can say, hey, these are the risks. These are what these guys are doing now. These are how they are targeting companies now. And how these organizations target companies is they have extensive research as to what the company does. They want to see the company size, if it makes sense for them, and then eventually they get around to researching how they can go about recruiting maybe people who are closely associated with the company, or maybe have a particular skill set. So these organizations might employ a hacker or somebody who might be an insider, who's maybe a disgruntled employee or something like that. That happens sometimes, but most likely, most of the time, it's somebody with a particular skill set. And the most often skill set, the most common skill set that is sought after is somebody who's skilled in creating phishing emails, okay? So phishing emails are unsolicited emails that appear to be real, but in fact are false. And what they do is they include a link or a reference to something. So, and that website, it appears to be real in the link, and when you click on it, it's in fact fake, and it's a dangerous website, a malicious website. So that's why a lot of browsers these days have these protections in there. A lot of the browsers give false positives, but that's okay because you're allowed to manually review that information. But what you'll do most commonly is you'll get an email that says, like, hey, let's say this guy's name is Bear Panda. So it's like, hey, Mr. Panda, we're acquaintances, so it'll be a certain level of social engineering, like they know something about you, and they could have gotten that information through some other means, right? Could be through some other hack where you might have your data stored at another organization, and they might have got that information, and now they might be trying to phish you using that information. And then they try to get you through building trust to click on their link, and that link installs ransomware on your machine, right? So that's the most common way how ransomware is installed. So what you can do is basically just ignore emails that you don't know who they're coming from. It's just the same as, don't open the door when you don't know who is knocking. If you don't have an expected guest, don't answer the door. It's kind of something like that. You won't have, that'll reduce your risk by at least 80%, maybe more. And another thing that's very common, and it's becoming even more common these days, is phishing via SMS or text message, okay? And that's basically the same thing. So they can install malware, though typically it's not ransomware on phones, but it's other forms of malware, mainly to monitor people and to try to get information from your phone and that sort of thing. And basically it's the same thing. So there'll be a link that's sent through text message or SMS, and you'll be enticed or try to be convinced to click on that when you really shouldn't click on it, and it'll take you to somewhere that's going to install some sort of malware on your device. So for me, what I do is I don't pick up any calls from somebody that I don't know. I don't use text messages at all. I have, there's a lot of reasons why I don't, but I don't use text messages at all. And on my phone, I have a particular feature that if you're not in my contact list, it just goes straight to busy, right? That way I know that, okay, maybe this is a number that I should call back. Maybe it's not a number I should call back, but it gives me the ability just to deny that number, because there are a lot of other scams out there that involve a phone, which I'll briefly mention. So there's social engineering attacks. I had a friend of mine who's a lawyer at a Supreme Court, not in the United States, but at another country. So this person is a lawyer at a Supreme Court, got vished. Vishing is basically voice phishing, okay? And it's the same concept of phishing, but applied to a telephone call. So you get a telephone call, and one of the more common ones these days is, a fake Microsoft support person calling you. And that's what this one was. And this lawyer asked me, like, hey, do you know anything about that? I told him, yeah, that's a total scam. Don't worry about that. But they try to get you to give up information about yourself. And basically, if you don't know who is calling you, if you don't have any unexpected strange calls, I don't know, you might have like a courier calling you, like, hey, you have a package I'm going to deliver, something like that. If you don't have anything expected, then just don't pick up the call or enable that feature. The other scam that comes up a lot, especially when you're traveling abroad internationally, is organizations in foreign countries somehow figure out a callback billing scam where they're able to benefit financially from calling you back. So this has happened to me a couple of times when I travel abroad and somehow my phone number is obtained, and then when I travel back home, I get a call from a foreign country, and then what they do is they immediately try to hang up, so I call them back, and it costs me money, and somehow they're able to benefit financially from me calling them back. So just don't pick up a phone call from somebody you don't know. At worst, you can call them back and you'll know, or you can just tell them, like, you can send a message or have a message at, on your voicemail that says, hey, just send me an email if I didn't pick up, and list your email like that. And if it's somebody it's really that important, they will send you an email. Now, if somebody who shouldn't obtain your email obtains your email and they use it, then you'll know through knowing what phishing is to not click on that link. Otherwise, if it's somebody that you should be in contact with, then they'll know. Or they'll just keep calling you. They'll keep calling you and they'll leave messages. It's okay if you tell them, like, send me a text message and I'll give you a call back. So it's okay if you read the text message, but if you click on a link, typically, like, people don't usually send links in text messages. These days, they're using some sort of chat app like WhatsApp. Okay, and you shouldn't be using WhatsApp anyway, but that's another topic. But typically, links aren't sent through chat anyway. So if somebody calls you and they really need to get a hold of you, they can just send you a text message, says, hey, give me a call back, you might be busy or whatever. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that person. We were supposed to have a phone call. So there are a lot of ways where you can direct people away from that, even though you might be expecting someone and you don't know their phone number because it might be like a first-time contact, something like that. So there's a lot of ways to avoid that. But for the most part, phishing scams are basically the most critical things out there today when you're talking about ransomware or malware. The second question Bear Panda asks is, I've been thinking about my computer's security since watching your videos, and one thing I realized is autofill is used on my computer. I assume this is bad, so it will be turned off, but it also raises question of, is there a secure password manager available, preferably based on my computer, but cloud as an alternative? So cloud is a tricky thing here. I'm extremely paranoid. So there are a few options out there. Firefox, Chrome, and Apple all have their respective features for allowing passwords to be shared between devices. The problem with this is that even though they're encrypted, they're still in the cloud, and I personally wouldn't be okay with allowing my passwords to be stored in the cloud. So there are a number of password managers out there that work both on mobile devices and your laptop or a desktop device. Okay, so what you basically do is there is a file there that you create when you install and create your first password manager, and that file is your database of passwords, and it should be encrypted. What you can do to back that up is you can put that on a USB, and you can store that USB somewhere safe. So if that file gets damaged or corrupted somehow, then you always have a backup. So just have a backup. And at the same time, that file is secured by a password that you know, and it has your list of other passwords inside. And that can also be stored on your mobile device. So that works. It's not cloud-based, but it can be used on both devices. And one of those password managers that's really good, and it's very feature rich, very simple, and the encryption is really good, is KeePass. KeePass X, KeePass 2, both of those will work on most mobile devices and desktops, and they're very good alternatives. I personally wouldn't recommend a cloud solution, although they do work. If you're using an Apple device, it's Keychain, Apple Keychain, and that's automatically synced between your Apple devices. Although I don't think you should do that. It's, in effect, your passwords are hosted in an Apple data center, and if you're using Google Chrome, and using their sync feature, they, in my view, they probably have some way of getting access to that. Although most cybersecurity professionals would say they don't, I personally don't trust them. And that's my perspective. You're always best when you possess your own data, and especially your own passwords. And when it's a cloud solution, technically you don't possess that data. You have access to it, but that data is stored on someone else's premises. Okay, and it's subject to their terms and conditions and their privacy policy, which varies from company to company, which is a big deal. And they can update their privacy policy without telling you whenever they want. So hope that helps, Bear Panda. Take care and have a great day.